Good afternoon, everyone. I thank my alma mater and the organizers for giving me this opportunity and to be back here as a guest faculty is quite surreal. So my topic is Kawasaki disease in older children and adults, and it is not just a kid's disease. I think we all know by now that that adult onset Kawasaki disease is rare, but it is there surely, and it is often diagnosed. However, it can still have lasting and devastating complications. So, but what is the cause for this misdiagnosis? Is that usually treating physicians do not consider it as a differential diagnosis when treating these patients. And to back it, there is not much literature. So also one reason for misdiagnosis is that it has been observed that these symptoms are not as clustered in older patients as they are in children. So during the illness of, let's say, 10 to 12 days, these symptoms come and go. And probably by the time they do present to the treating physician, most of these symptoms are absent. And historically, patients sometimes are not able to tell these symptoms. So that is probably the two main reasons why adult or older Kawasaki disease is being misdiagnosed. So if we look at the incidence, most of these studies have reported in their cohorts the incidence to be somewhere around 1 to 1.5%. There are two studies. One is by Kai et al., where actually they have considered children of more than 5 years of age. So their incidence was as high as 9%. And there is another study which I will discuss subsequently, where they have found the incidence to be around 6%. But more often, and most cohorts have the consensus, and even in R that I'll present, the incidence is somewhere around 1 to 1.5%. Now again, this incidence could be more because most of these patients, as I said, are probably not being diagnosed on time. So this is a study from Canada, including Dr. Brian McTrindle. So they actually studied the patients of Kawasaki disease at both the extremes of ages, that is in the infants, less than 1 year of age, and the older children. And they considered 9 years and older as the older patients, and they found that their incidence was around 6%. What they concluded in their study was that these patients were more likely to have coronary artery abnormalities, both the extremes, and they did not have, unfortunately, all the classical features. So they were mostly incomplete KD, and probably the reason why the duration of diagnosis was quite long. 12 days was their median diagnosis, but it was longer. And these patients, since they were presenting quite late, they were less likely to receive IVIG because probably the disease had passed, the acute phase reactants had normalized, so they were not receiving IVIG, and those who were being treated, they were not responding just to IVIG like we discussed, so they were more likely to receive steroids, probably because anyway this age group is more likely to have coronary complications and cardiac complications, and secondly because the diagnosis was delayed, so they were in a stage where the coronary complications had already set in. So this is what the Canadian group discussed. So another big cohort was from the French, and they collected the retrospective data of their patients of Kawasaki disease who were 18 years and older. So they found 43 such patients, and the median time of diagnosis in these patients were also 13 days, and the longest duration what they noticed was 21 days. The symptoms were more or less similar, but if you see the cardiac complications in these patients were close to 50%. And 1/4 of these patients had coronary vasculitis, and 1/5 had coronary aneurysms. So treatment was IVIG and aspirin. However, 4 of their patients they reported had myocardial infarction, but again, they were not treated with IVIG on time, probably because they presented late, and by the time they did present, the complications had already set in. So again, the conclusion that the damage was lower in patients who had received IVIG upfront, but because of the long duration of diagnosis, these patients tend to develop coronary abnormalities. So the trend of diagnosing adult KD in their cohort, if you see, peaked somewhere around 2005 and 2006, but has gradually picked up from the year 1992 to the last when this study was published in 2015. So this is the retrospective data from our own center, 10 years of data from the year 1994 to 2019. So again here we included patients of 10 years and older and found around 46 patients who fit this category. Again, median age of diagnosis was 11 years and the oldest patient was 30 years old, and in the French cohort the oldest patient was in fact 68 years old. The median interval from the onset of fever to the diagnosis was again similar as in other studies, that was 12 days, but the longest was reported as 30 days. 8 patients out of this presented with hypotensive shock, so KD shock syndrome, and coronary abnormalities were noted in 13% of these patients. The conclusion again drawn from this retrospective data was that the diagnosis is delayed, and so these patients are at risk for developing coronary artery complications more frequently. Again, if you see the trend of diagnosing older children with Kawasaki disease has steadily been increasing, probably because of the increased awareness now, and we know that it is not just a kid's disease. So profile of Kawasaki disease in adolescents, is it any different? This is a study from Indonesia, and I just want to highlight here again that the coronary artery dilatation percentage, what they report in children more than 10 years of age, was close to 50% again. So just a tangential discussion on adult or adolescents with Kawasaki disease. So this is a long-term health outcome in young adults after Kawasaki disease. So these patients have actually suffered Kawasaki disease in childhood, and this Jane Burns group actually did a questionnaire-based study. All these patients were 15 years or older at the time of the study, and these patients with coronary artery aneurysms reported a lot of complaints like chest pain, palpitations, shortness of breath as was expected, but they also found that patients who did not have coronary artery aneurysms also did not give a very favorable overall health outcome. So they felt that they were not as well as the control group. So control groups were their own residents who had not suffered Kawasaki disease in childhood. So this is one aspect of Kawasaki disease in the older population, in adolescents and probably adulthood, that they have a lot of comorbidities even if the Kawasaki disease happened in childhood. Also, another observation that they made was there is an increased prevalence of allergies to medications and eczema in patients who had Kawasaki disease, and this has been reported in some Southeast Asian cohorts also. The cause nobody knows, but this is one significant observation. What a pertinent point that they pointed out was that there is a limitation of echocardiography in adults because the window is not adequate because of the lung shadow. So probably CTCA could be incorporated as a screening modality in adult patients, because otherwise coronary arteries are likely to be missed in this population. So these are the symptoms that these patients complain. So palpitation, leg swelling, shortness of breath, leg pain with walking, chest pain, hypertension, migraines, and even ADHD in patients who had suffered Kawasaki disease. So these patients, mind you, did not have coronary artery aneurysms, because it is quite expected for these symptoms to be in patients who have aneurysms, but this is the KD cohort that did not have aneurysms. So probably there are some long-term sequelae even in patients who apparently have no coronary artery abnormalities. So this is another report of patients of Kawasaki disease adolescents. So basically, I just want you to focus on this. The patients 13 years and older were around 11% in their cohort, and they have divided these into two groups, the ones that came upfront to their center and the ones that were referred. So the coronary artery aneurysms were more in patients who were referred, highlighting that the more the delay in diagnosis, more the incidence of coronary artery abnormality. So I'll be discussing 2 case reports. This is from R.G. Kar Medical College, Kolkata, published into 2021. This 19-year-old female had a history of fever, received multiple antibiotics, and the rash and other symptoms probably got missed. So when she peeled, actually the diagnosis of Kawasaki disease was considered, and she was given IVIG and aspirin, and luckily she did not have any coronary artery abnormality. So this. Yes, sir, pediatric unit, sir. So this was a good save, I would say. And this is one case that we admitted and we published. So this is a letter to editor. So he was a 12-year-old boy who presented with history of prolonged fever and acute epigastric pain. So when he presented to us, we actually had admitted him because of pyrexia of unknown origin, because he was not responding to any antibiotics. So when the history was probed, he came up with a history of redness of eyes, rash, and some photos that he showed of tongue. And by the time he did present to us, he was actually peeling. The echo was normal. You can see there was pancreatitis, and he was already peeling. So we were able to give him IVIG and aspirin, and his pancreatitis resolved. So because these older patients usually have some varied presenting manifestation, it usually misleads us into treating them as infections probably. But this boy was lucky. Despite having a prolonged course and delay in diagnosis, he did not have any coronary artery abnormalities and is doing well now. So this is one clinico-pathological case that was discussed in our CPC. So this was a young boy who had presented to the adult ER. He had history of fever, vaguely, and presented in loss of consciousness. He was found to have biventricular failure, and a possibility of an MI was considered. So histopathology was performed, partial autopsy was performed, and the clinical diagnosis at that time was kept as viral myocarditis, because there was fever and there was cardiac involvement, there was MI, because nobody could believe that a 19-year-old boy could have anything but that. But so when the CPC was being discussed, so one of our colleagues suggested a possibility of Kawasaki disease in a young boy who had coronary artery abnormality. So the pathology colleague presented that there was a thrombus in the right auricle, the valves were normal, there was extensive fibrinous pericarditis and myocarditis, and the coronaries demonstrated extensive disruption of internal elastic lamina, and the PCR for the infective workup was all negative. This child had received IVIG, but that they gave keeping a possibility of viral myocarditis. However, this child could not make it. So then this case got published, and it is, I think, a lesson for all of us that in any young adult with no prior comorbidity, we probably should always keep Kawasaki disease as a differential. Discuss, not go into the details, I think that will be discussed in. What I want to highlight is that patient, atherosclerotic coronary artery disease, CAD. So basically, the mechanistic process, so the presence of aneurysm, high thrombus burden, and a young patient who has comorbidities, KD should always be thought. The presence of proximal CAAs, focal circumferential calcifications, significant irregularity or eccentricity should suggest KD and not it. So I'll just leave you with the thought that young MIs have become very, some of them missed KDs. Thank you.